Portions of the following program may have been pre-recorded.
The following program's views, claims, or ideas may not reflect those of WSRR Radio or StylesRebelRadio.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind Enemy Lines right here on WSRR Radio. Nationally local, meaning we play your local bands on a national stage. I'm Lucas Durazio, joined as always by Dom Farrow, and we are your Cleveland sports talk show from Pittsburgh right here on Monday morning, your 10 a.m. drive. Dom, today we're going to be having a very, very special episode. We teased it a little bit last week, so now you're hearing it. The beginning of our very long night of recording, a couple of episodes. But yeah, we teased it a little bit last week. I'm now talking into the future. This is like very strange because we're in the present, but we're talking about something we're going to record in the future, but it's going to be played in the past from when you're listening to this. Right?
Something like that.
It's interstellar stuff. It is a little bit. Anyways, we've got a good one, and we talked about it a little bit last week. We're going to be making a tier list today of the best days in sports as a fan. This is kind of in honor of March Madness. March Madness is obviously going to be on this list and pretty high. And, if you haven't yet, by this time this comes out, March Madness will probably already be started, right, Dom?
This one? Maybe. I don't know. It always starts in a weird time of March. You always think it's around the corner. It's really
late in March.
Yeah. I always think it's going to be a lot faster than it is. I remember...
most of March Madness is actually in April.
Yeah. I mean, it's about 50-50, but I remember being in high school, middle school, just waiting forever. Waiting for Selection Sunday, just waiting to get those brackets in. And then those first 4
days?
Games. No, like the first...
games? Oh, yeah.
Like the ones in Dayton and stuff. Those ones would be like, oh, can we just get this tournament started? And then that first round.
Oh, you're talking about the first 4 in or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's still cool, but it's like let's get some madness going on here. A little teaser.
That one you get itching because you talk about March Madness for like in the halfway through February, and then it's a lead up for a month. The conference tournaments aren't even set yet by the time they're talking about March Madness.
Yeah. It's unlike any other sport, and I think that's what makes it so fun. I can't wait for it this year, but like you said, we got something excited today. There's so many good days. Just going over this, all these I want to put it S tier, but we're going to have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah, there's some really good ones here. So we'll start it out. I mean, Dom, we've already talked about it. March Madness, day 1. And it's not that first 4. It's the day or the round of 64. In middle school, we'd watch it on laptops during class and
on that CBS website.
Yeah, that's right. The CBS website was clutch.
Before Stream East.
Yeah, really.
They were giving it to the people.
It's crazy. I think they still do that. Is the crazy thing.
They do, but now I think they limit it. You can only get a few hours, but it does give you a good amount of those first round. You
definitely
games.
Get a lot. So that changed the game. That's S tier for sure.
I think we could lump in first and second rounds in this. 64 and 32.
The second round is fun too because then it's like, oh man, is the Cinderella run really going to continue?
And sometimes it does. But after that, it's still great, still a fantastic tournament. But I don't think anything tops those first 2 rounds of March Madness. I think,
you get that AAU feeling too, where they're playing in the same building. It's like
anything can happen here.
There's 4 teams in one city, pretty much. The best, or more, right? I don't know. Whatever.
The best is when a crowd is rooting for the underdog. Everyone's going for him. This past year in Pittsburgh, everybody was cheering when big DJ Burns from NC State would get the ball. I forget who they were playing, but they were definitely on a Cinderella type run. But it's awesome when a crowd really gets behind an underdog team.
And there are those names that arise too that are March Madness legends. And now I feel like we are kind of getting that with college football. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but Cam Scatabo kind of has the same feeling as DJ Burns or Jimmer Fredette. It's man, this guy has had a crazy season. He's probably not going to win the national championship, but he's playing on a national stage and showing everyone how good he is on a subpar team. Compared to the big guys, the Jimmer Fredette from Brigham Young, if you will, stuff like that.
He's a legend.
He is. So S tier for sure. Day one of March Madness. Dom, where do we want to jump to next? I think another really good day in sports fandom is the NFL Week 1, because again, that's another one that really builds up for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's 4 or 3 preseason games now, and then a week off. You know, with that 4th bye week before Week 1, that you're just like itching to get it started.
Yeah.
You got your draft. You got to see some draft kit picks and some rookies playing in the preseason. You're kind of excited. But like Week 1, Sunday, because you can't count, not Thursday, but like the day of Sunday, where you wake up, it's like games are going to be on at 1.
I was going to say, I feel like the NFL, they kind of hurt that opening weekend feel with these international games to kick things off.
Well, with the Thursday night games. Like they shouldn't have a Thursday night game on Week 1. They don't have one Week 18 last week.
Yeah.
I think they shouldn't have one on Week 1 either.
It is fun, but it's not an S tier. It doesn't quite compete with that March Madness level, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys say. It still is great, but it's
good.
So like, it's such a fresh start that you really have no clue what you're getting into. But when it comes, it's great. But I also think another part of this, and maybe this is affecting it, like when I was younger, definitely Week 1 of NFL, it meant so much. You know, you drafted your fantasy players. You couldn't wait to see how your team was going to look coming out to start the year. But I also think about the time when that happened, the weather. The weather would be nice and cold. The leaves would be changing colors. It would be football weather. I feel like
it's
now,
too hot now?
Yeah, Week 1, it's just like, still feels like summer.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have an issue with that though.
It's not football weather. I'll go to Steelers.
Well, that's different.
First
Are you
home
saying
game.
Week 1 of high school football? Because like then I feel like it matters because you're there in person. But most of the time, like you're watching on TV and you're watching teams from the South. Like you're watching teams in Florida.
That's true. But I'm saying like going to a Steelers game.
I don't think that
it's like sitting there. It's 80 degrees. It's just not quite the same. It's not football weather. It's not what we're there to see.
So you think global warming is hurting the NFL Week 1 on this tier list?
I'm just saying that it doesn't seem the same as it used to. I think there are better days in the NFL season. We can't just... This definitely isn't the number 1 day in NFL.
Really?
100%. Definitely
Well,
not.
you think Wild Card Weekend's better then?
I do, yeah.
All right, well, we can bring that one up next.
But,
I think Week 1 should be S tier, but I could see A tier. I understand. I'm just...
Man.
If that's A tier, you think it's less than A tier?
Might be B tier.
No,
all right,
I
we
can't agree.
we can put it at A tier.
I can't agree. It's definitely A tier at least.
So we can do the
especially it's different for you. You're a Steelers fan. Like the games that matter at the end of the year. The Browns fans are like, let's see if we're gonna play any games that matter this year.
We can just go right to Wild Card Weekend, and this is another one where maybe I would have used to say S, but now that they're doing games on Monday, that kind of killed it for me.
That hurts it a lot too.
If it was just Saturday and Sunday, I'd be all for it, but it's not quite on that S level.
Why spread it out like that? I don't know. We've had this conversation on the show before too, but
there's no good answer. Maybe one day they'll go back to it, but for right now, I do think it's better than Week 1. Still, you're getting to see the teams. There's still a bit of unpredictability. There's still some underdogs that you can be rooting for. Every year it's different, but I think overall Wild Card Weekend is a lot of fun.
I would have to put them at. I can't put that S tier though. I don't think that's better than Week 1.
I'm not jumping to S tier quite yet, but that's an argument. That's an argument for why I think Week 1 might be a B tier. Because I do think Wild Card Weekend is clearly above it.
I don't think you understand as a Browns fan watching it being like, all right, let's see if we have anything.
Now let's talk about another football one, but let's jump across to college. Week 0. This is one that you put on your list beforehand.
I put this, but I will say it can be better. Week 0 is not great right now. I almost sometimes think that people forget about Week 0 where it's like, oh, like Florida State, like all of a sudden it's Friday or Thursday night and you're like, oh, Florida State plays in 2 days? Like,
yeah.
I feel like it is always Florida State. Maybe it's just been the last couple of years, but like, and I feel like there's been an upset always. Like this year it was Georgia Tech beating Florida State and us seeing how bad DJ Ugalele is.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's how you say his last name, but either
Close
way.
enough.
I feel like it can be better And I think that moving forward, they're going to start like scheduling bigger games, and they're going to kind of make it. Right now, I almost feel like week 0 is mostly for scheduling purposes. Like the teams that play week 0, like we played when I was in college, week 0, because we played Hawaii. The 2 years that we played week 0, we had to travel to Hawaii. So then after you go to Hawaii, you get an extra week off. You get an extra bye week.
There's special circumstances. I don't love week 0. It just doesn't feel like football has really started. It's like, what are we doing? Are we all the way in? Or are we
it's kind of like a teaser. It's like a soft launch.
But not in a good way.
Yeah.
Because if you gave us, like, let's say, Alabama versus USC, let's give one big game, or like a Notre Dame versus
This year
Clemson.
they had USC versus LSU. That was a big one.
Yeah. So they're definitely moving in the right direction.
Notre Dame and Texas A&M, another big one. That's what I'm saying. I think right now I can only say probably C tier, but I think in the future,
really, it's going to
be better.
Okay, yeah. I think C tier is pretty fair, but I do think
because usually there's only like 4 games and like one of them actually matters.
Yeah. And they're never really competitive.
Yeah, and very rarely they're competitive. This year, like, maybe it's a what have you done for me lately thing, because this year Georgia Tech and Florida State, 1 were in Ireland, which was cool. 2, we got to see new Florida State, who was supposed to be really good. And it was an upset that came down to the wire. So maybe it's in my memory because week 0 this year was really good. But I think in the future it could be better, and it will be.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a big launching point for college football. As they move more towards the NFL style of like
super
it's
conferences.
about making money.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I think the conferences, they start to blur a little bit more each and every year, where you're going to start seeing these big type games, and week 0 is a great opportunity for that. You can get your team off to a hot start, but it is risky.
I think that college football too, like for the longest time, they're kind of living in denial of being like, no, this is for student athletics, like whatever. Like, even though we are making a ton of money off it, like it is still student athletics, so we're not going to like schedule things special sometimes.
Yeah.
Like it's still like a whatever, and if it just so happens that it's nationally covered, that's great, but like whatever. They kind of were living in denial of that, where now it's like, all right, we're letting the players get paid. Let's just make, like, we're going to do it so that we can make the most revenue.
Yeah, let's all make a spectacle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
so
good
it's
point.
moving towards that way. Anything else that you want to talk about quick in this first segment? Any other days that jump off the page?
We could finish off, I think this one of the last college ones, we got that New Year's 6, which is another one that has changed in recent years. Yeah.
Because of the 12-team playoff, which now it's kind of like, which is better, the New Year's Bowl or the day 1 of the college football playoff? Like,
and now I think it is that first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, is more, but at the same time, all the games were duds.
I said this before we recorded. New Year's 6, it's basically just the Pop-Tart Bowl day now.
Yes.
What are we?
Pop-Tart Bowl that one's turning into one of the best days in sports because you get to watch and see the tarts.
They go all out for that, and that's enjoyable to watch. New Year's 6, though, it used to be an A tier, I'd say.
Yes.
I think this year, and just like looking ahead and imagining, it probably dropped down to a C tier.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because these bowl games don't mean much. You saw Cam Ward play half of a football game and then get out because he set a record. You can tell these bowl games just don't mean much to these players.
It's more about the college football playoff now more than ever, obviously.
Yeah.
Which again, I also feel like that was kind of part of it, where they're like, no, like you want to win your conference and you all get to go to a bowl game, and like, yeah, why not? We'll throw a 2-game or a 4-team thing for like who's the national champion. Now it's more like a professional, program league where they're like, no, we have to find our champion.
Yeah, I think that it's really all out for conference championships or a national championship. Nobody wants to hang up a banner of winning the Cheez-It Bowl.
Yeah, no one cares about anything unless you're competing for a national title, which is kind of the way it should be, right?
Yeah, but it was a lot more enjoyable for fans when you knew that these players actually cared about winning these dumb bowl games.
So where are we putting it's the New Year's 6 is on there, right? Maybe we can think nostalgically. Where would we put that? B tier? Probably, right?
Yeah. It's better than week 0. It's definitely better than week 0. We can definitely move that to B.
All right, perfect. So what do we have so far? Give us a quick rundown of the list before we go to break.
C tier, college football week 0. B tier, New Year's 6 games. A tier, NFL week 1 and wild card weekend. S tier, March Madness rounds 1 and 2.
So far, spectacular.
Pretty
tier
good.
list. Stick with us after the break. We'll be getting into a little bit of more sports after we've knocked out most of our football days. So stick with us right here on WSRR Radio.
If LimeWire taught us anything, your digital music is free and open to piracy, and even manipulation when it comes to digital distribution. So why settle for a bunch of ones and zeros floating around on the internet? Make your release something special with Hellbender Vinyl. Hellbender is one of America's most trusted custom vinyl record pressing plants and works with local artists to get their next release pressed exactly to their liking. So check out Pittsburgh's first and only custom vinyl pressing plant today by visiting hellbendervinyl.com to get started. And don't forget, all customers at Hellbender Vinyl get 5 free test presses at no additional charge. Hellbent on quality, hellbent on service, hellbendervinyl.com.
Hi, this is Melissa.
Hey, it's Matt.
Hi guys, my name is Ari.
Coming at you from Synergy Music Studio. Come through to a Synergy Naked session.
Synergy Naked is a live performance recording, also captured on video. Look for our releases on YouTube at Synergy Music Studio.
We're located on the south side near Chicago. Passing through.
Hit up our DMs on Instagram at Synergy Music Studio. Rock hard.
Welcome back to WSRR Radio and Behind Enemy Lines. We are brought to you by Synergy Music Studio. Based out of Chicago, Synergy Music Studio offers a diverse array of musical services specifically crafted to meet their clients' needs, from recording to mixing and production. Discover how they can bring your vision to life at synergymusicstudio.com. I'm Lucas Durazio, joined as always by the wonderful, the lovely, I almost said, which usually they say about female hosts, but the lovely Dominic Farrow.
Fits.
Yeah, you're lovely. You're lovely.
It's a
to
lovely
be by.
program.
It is a lovely program, and we are here creating tier lists of the best. Well, just one tier list. I don't know why I put the plural on that. Of the best days in sports as a sports fan.
Best days of the year, some would say.
Yeah, really.
Rivals Christmas, Thanksgiving.
As a sports fan, kind of the holidays of sports fandom almost.
Yeah,
these days are.
That's fair.
So far we've covered March Madness and covered most of football. Really, we've kind of mostly stayed in the sport of football. We're gonna venture out this one. Actually, quick before we get out of football, I have one last football one that I see on here. That's kind of a day in sports, but no sports actually happen. It's the NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of it is a good tier list day for everyone because it's a day that everyone's winning the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
I'm tempted to put this one at an S tier.
An S?
The first round of the NFL draft.
It's like
must watch
teaser.
television.
It really is.
It's like reality television for sports fans.
Yes.
So you get the deep dive on these guys. Who in their family has died? What is their stats at the combine? It's like all this stuff. There's so much details, so much that's unnecessary, but it's great. It's all speculative, and you can get so hyped up for your team. And even other teams, too. I find myself like, oh, they got themselves a dog.
Yeah,
I can't wait
you
to
do.
watch
You get
this
excited where you're like, actually, I think I'm going to watch some more Lions games this year than I thought, or something like that, you know?
And
someone random.
The presentation is just so good on TV. I've been to one in person, the one in Cleveland in 2021, and that was cool. It was really fun to watch the first round. I don't think I'd want to watch other rounds in person. But I did miss watching on TV. You don't get the noise that
you don't get to hear Mel Kiper.
You don't get that. Yeah, you don't get any of that. And I found myself missing it. So part of it is definitely the presentation. And in my heart, I want to put this at an S tier right now.
Oh,
first
I
round.
do love. Really, you kind of talked me into it. When I first put this on, I was like, yeah, it's not really a sports day, really, because no game is played. But again, like the anticipation of it almost makes it an S.
It's fun.
You've kind of talked me into it. I originally was going to say A at best, but I'll put it in an S tier.
All right, we can have conversations later, but we'll put it there for right now. Yeah, I was missing that.
The S tier has picked.
There's
the
like
first round.
There are 2 more days in football, I think. Could be more, but obviously the national championship, and then you have the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl is a day of itself, but for this list, I almost don't want it to be like one specific game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where that is like, it's kind of too on the nose, but I think the Super Bowl, if anyone, would be on here because, like, it's an event more than a football game. It's like a cultural event. There's a big halftime show. Like, there's a huge lead up. Everyone in the nation obviously has parties, so you are, it's almost a full day again of anticipation up until the game starts.
Yeah, I do think national championship though. I think it fits for some people. It fits that same criteria.
I don't know.
And I think it would be fair to not put it in the same category as
Let's only
Super Bowl.
Can we only put one of these on the list, or should we put them both on? I would put Super Bowl. What do you think, S or A?
Not S. I can't give it an S.
I think A is better
because it never really lives. Most of the time, it doesn't live up to expectations.
A lot of times it doesn't. Another thing is there's only one game. Like, that's the thing about March Madness that's so good is like it's more likely that you're going to see good basketball because there's 8 games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like it's one game, could be a game like this year where it's a blowout and the team that people didn't really want to win. Like, there's more of a chance that the game itself isn't going to be that good. So I would definitely not put it S tier. Just for the sports aspect of itself. The social aspect of it puts it into A tier, I think.
It's probably up there. I think we're safe putting it in A tier. As far as like social events, for like these sporting type of events, it's tough. But there's one that's standing out to me, and it's the Kentucky Derby. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But it is one that, you get together, you have some drinks, you wear a nice outfit or whatever, you play some bets. It's more of a social thing than caring about the outcome of the game.
Now that one, I think the Kentucky Derby is one of them that like would be an in-person one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's one where it's like, if you're in person, it's the best day of your life.
Yeah. Like
it is the cool, like it's, kind of you put yourself in that culture and whatever. There's so much culture around it, of horse racing like that. And it would be cool, but like, I feel like that's got to be lower. I think it's a C tier probably.
I don't know.
How many people are really, like, how many years do you go, oh, wow, the Kentucky Derby's this weekend? I didn't even, like,
You're
that
right.
happens to me a lot.
But I also
if you
think
do like put time aside to celebrate it, it could be really fun. But like
that's true. Yeah, if you make it special, it can be a lot of fun. If you place a bet on it, it can be a lot of fun. But I was just gonna say with the Kentucky Derby that it's a lot better to watch it in person. But I think it also always falls on an interesting weekend. Like sometimes there's a big boxing fight, or there's big UFC, or there's some MLB games. It always seems like there's fun stuff happening around that time. It's always a good time of the year. The weather's starting to get really nice.
I feel like that's around that sports equinox too, where it's like football and football
not
maybe
football.
not, but it's kind of ramping up to that.
Playoff hockey, probably.
Yeah. That's like a good summer day of sports.
It might fall around the same time as the Masters too.
Yeah, which is another one on our list. What do we put in the Kentucky Derby?
Derby.
C? I'd say C. I can't put it above C.
All right. Yeah, we can put it C.
What's the lowest tier on this?
D. I'm saying week 0 is a D.
Yeah.
I think Kentucky Derby's better than
I just think right now it's a D. Potential-wise, I think it has room for growth.
Yeah,
but
you're
right
right.
now, throw it at a D.
Okay. So Masters.
Masters is... This is another one, like, a lot of people don't really enjoy watching golf, but, like, it is a good one where, like, I never really watch golf that much. But if I'm around people who are like, oh, like, it's fun to be around people who are into it.
Yeah.
And they're like telling you, it's like, oh man, it's close. Like, which obviously I know that, but if I see them excited by it, like I'm more likely to watch it. So if I watch that alone, whatever. Again, it's a social day more than anything, in my opinion. But
you think
the golf is really good.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying. If you're around a social group of watching it, like I remember watching it like Sunday morning, we wake up from being hungover in college, and I go into my college house where there's 3 other guys living there, and they're watching it. It's like, oh yeah, this is fun to watch.
Yeah. If you like golf, it's the best day of the year.
It's the best day in golf.
If you don't like golf, then yeah, no one really
Is it
cares
better
about
than the Tour Championship? Probably.
100%.
Right? Yes.
Tour Championship is not very good.
What about the U.S. Open?
U.S. Open is good.
Masters is number 1.
There are a lot of really good golf events that I think could be on this tier list. I think Masters, for me as a golf fan, it's an S tier, but I'd be okay, just from a unbiased perspective, it being an A tier.
Yeah, I would say
Augusta,
if you can,
the best course in the world.
you have
the
to
best golfers
appreciate
in the world. The stories are always great. Tiger Woods winning in 2019, probably the biggest comeback story of all time in sports, in my opinion. It's just you can tell that Augusta, the treasured,
there's a
grounds,
pageantry of Augusta.
Exactly.
They paint a story with it too.
There's just nothing that compares to it in golf, and really in all of sports, in my opinion. Yeah, I think it's an S, but
I'd
you
keep it
insist
an A.
on A, we can leave
I'm
it
sorry.
there for right now.
Which again, like I like it enough where it could be an S, but I think to the masses it has to be an A. Like I think any of these, if you're really bought in, like MLB opening day, if you're really bought into baseball, like yeah, it could be a really good day. But like if you're a guy who doesn't really care about baseball, it's like all right, yeah, they're playing game 1 of 162.
Yeah, but I like the pageantry of that too.
Yeah, it is good.
It's a long
again,
waiting
that's another
time.
like historic. You can tell there's history there type thing. It's
they really
traditional.
They do it well too. I think they do it better than NFL does for opening weekend.
Yeah,
like if you just watched a game, you turn on a random game, you probably wouldn't notice that it's the opening weekend of the NFL. If you turned on a MLB game on YouTube, they make a big deal. This is opening day. Let's bring out all the players. Let's bring out all the coaches and blah blah blah. Do this whole big thing. It's pretty cool for some people, but for some it's like, all right, let's just play baseball. It's a long season. We can get excited and do all this when we make the playoffs.
But I was gonna say, but that's another thing about like the MLB and like the NBA compared to the NFL. It's like every game matters in the NFL. The MLB, it's like, all right, this is 1 of 162. This weekend, we can make it a big deal, kind of like whatever, but it's also going to be here for 6 months. You know what I mean? Where you're going to see 162 games. And in the NFL, you're going to see 16, 17 now.
They mean more. Each individual game in the NFL could be on this tier list at a B or an A tier.
Yeah,
not
because every week is a big one. So MLB opening week, when are you saying?
I think it's a B.
Yeah, I'll allow it to be B. Again, it's like
it's pretty cool.
It's America's pastime. It's summer's starting. Whatever it is. I understand it.
And around that time of the year, there's not a whole lot going on in sports to get excited about.
Yeah,
if your football team didn't make the playoffs, they stunk it up. If your hockey team's not looking too good, things aren't going your way. Well, it's baseball. We get to just enjoy this and watch it. Who cares if we're winning every single game? We just get to watch baseball.
Yeah,
so
the team in your town is playing ball.
This is a separate ramp here, but like people complain about baseball being too slow. It's supposed to be slow. You're supposed to be sitting there. You're supposed to be watching it. It's not supposed to be fast paced. And not everything's supposed to be action.
You think
like
it should
football.
You think it should be a leisure sport?
Yeah.
Where you kind of just like, sitting back,
yeah,
drinking a glass of lemonade.
Tell some stories, talk with your friends, hang out.
You don't have to watch every pitch.
But now they're trying to make trying to make it that way.
Well, I think that's why I think baseball is such a better sport in person.
Yeah, it used to be, but now at the sped up, it's like, oh shoot, it's already the 8th inning.
When you're watching it on TV, like they're making it for TV viewers now instead of in-person viewers.
Yeah. Can't even get hammered at a baseball game anymore.
Yeah, it's too quick.
It is. It's a real shame. But MLB opening day, B, I think is appropriate. I could definitely see putting in the C tier, but
I think B is good.
I think B is good right now. World Series.
Okay, well, wait. I wanted to ask another one. I mentioned that it's kind of like traditional. It's almost patriotic. MLB opening week is, right? It's almost like a patriotic, like it's America's pastime. The next thing that I want to bring up is the Olympics, because the Olympics, even if you're like not super into it, if you watch like a team Olympic sport, and again, the tough thing about the Olympics is there's no like one day where it's really big, but like those championship days where it's like, oh man, the U.S. is playing France in basketball, you get to feel patriotic. Like even if you don't absolutely love the country or what the government's doing or whatever, it's like, no, I want my country to win the gold.
Yeah.
You get to feel like a patriot, even if you aren't, like, whatever. If you're still the person who's watching that and who's like, well, the U.S., I'm not really a fan of what's going on with the government. Like, come on.
Yeah. If you're like that,
Don't
you're
be lame.
A loser.
Don't be lame. Just be a fake patriot right now, even if you're not really, really patriotic.
We're all on the same team. Those guys aren't in the government. They don't do anything. They're fighting for us on the basketball
They were
court.
born here, and they're going to go fight for us.
I do think the Olympics is a bit annoying sometimes. It gets a little too like fluff. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, they make big deal out of every little thing in the Olympics. I think that gets pretty annoying. You don't see that in a lot of different sports.
Give me an example. I'm curious.
I can think
what
of
you
like
mean.
multiple from this past Olympics. You have that boxer who they accuse of like being transgender. I don't know what ended up happening with that, but that was like a whole fiasco. Then you had that Sha'Carri Richardson girl who smoked weed and got kicked off of the American team. For some reason, that was made a big deal of.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. I think that was last Olympics, actually.
Yeah, and there's always these like little things that, it gets politicized. So I think it's not on the same level as all these. I have summer and winter as two separate things. Winter just does not have the same buzz as the summer does.
No, there's not as many events. There's not as many team events either.
I think
there's hockey. Is there any other really team events in Winter Olympics? Besides, bobsled, luge, whatever. I think the luge is the single man.
I think that Summer Olympics there are too many events at this point almost.
Yeah, I agree. There's actually a lot of events where I'm like, they almost should either make the Olympics longer or have like a second Summer Olympics with like only half the sports.
Yeah.
Because there's like some sports where when the Olympics were on, I would come down like and turn on the Peacock app or whatever because NBC had all the Olympics, and there would be like mountain biking on. And I was like, oh, these guys are going through like a mountain bike course. This was really cool, actually. Like, I want more coverage of this. And then like I would see a highlight show. It's like, oh yeah, they did some type of shooting event or something, archery. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even see that was on. I kind of would have liked to see that live just to see a new sport, see something different that I don't usually get to see.
Yeah. I do think that they've gotten better with the coverage of the Olympics, though.
Yeah, Peacock was huge this year.
Yeah, you can
watch
see anything you want.
Yeah, and you can go back and replay it if you really want.
Yeah.
Sometimes I did.
They did do a good job this year. I think it did make the Summer Olympics more enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
I also think like being stuck at work changed things. Like back in the past, like in the summer, it's like, no, I'm going out, I'm doing something. I'm not watching these guys sprint. Now I'm at work. I'm like, yeah, I'll put this. I can watch it for free on Peacock. It's like, let's see what this volleyball team's looking like.
Yeah, I don't have to have cable. I actually think this past Summer Olympics, like me and my fiance would sit down at night and we're like, oh, let's go back and watch the, whatever event. We missed gymnastics. Gymnastics was yesterday. Like that was the first time I ever really like sought out watching sports with my fiance. It was so romantic. So romantic.
They love the gymnastics.
Fucking torqued up.
They love that gymnastics.
Well,
team.
gymnastics, like anything. We would watch the basketball. We would just watch whatever's live. Like, oh, swimming's tonight. Let's watch swimming. Like, just so torqued up. So
torqued
fucking
dog.
romantic.
But Summer Olympics, I don't think I can put it.
I'd say it's,
Can't
as
put
a
it
fan, probably B at best.
At best.
And again, the other thing is there's no like signature day. Like what? There's the opening ceremony. Like no one cares about that. Like that's not really a sports day. That's more of like a pageantry day.
There's another thing that people made a big deal about. that opening ceremony this past Summer Olympics.
What happened? I remember it, but not really.
I don't know.
I just remember
I don't pay
Braun was on
attention.
the front of the boat holding up the U.S. flag like he was Captain America.
He's crossing the Delaware.
Yeah, like he was George Washington in the rain.
Go ahead, Braun. Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
We're watching Braun as we record, by
Braun
the way.
and Harden. Harden said he's seen enough. He's going to drop 30. There he goes. Take a 3.
No
Rick.
good.
Okay. Winter Olympics, though, I think C for right now. Maybe if they...
Winter C, definitely.
Get some better
Is summer
coverage.
at B?
Yeah. Now let me tell you about something. Shaun White, awesome. But Michael Phelps and Usain Bolt, even better. So I think that's how we got to think of things here.
Again, I think like Shaun White is so fucking epic and stuff like that is
Yeah?
so
Tell me
cool.
more.
But people don't know enough about like snowboarding and
Half-pipes.
skiing or something. It's like, watch that. You know what I mean? To seek it out. Like if I see a highlight though, I'll be like, holy hell, my stoke is at an all-time high.
Yeah. I feel like all the Winter Olympic stuff outside of like hockey happens
It's
so
all
quick.
individual stuff. And it's so quick. Yeah, it's like a one-day event.
It's like high jump. It's like, oh, you blink and you missed it.
Yeah.
And it's tough to gauge that when you're watching on TV.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh, he went 20 more meters than him. I don't
If
even
you're
know what
not
meters
a-
are. I don't
if
even
you're-
know what meters are, bro. Tell me what feet, yards.
Yeah,
I don't even.
this is America.
I can't
dude.
tell on the video. I can't tell by the numbers. So someone just make it make sense.
Well,
C
I
tier.
also feel like sometimes I feel like the Winter Olympics are more like judge based.
yeah.
Like when they do a half pipe and they do like a certain amount of spins, I'm like, oh, that one looked kind of cooler than that one, but that one got more points because the judge thought his technique was better. So like I don't know that.
So I
Why
f-
did that guy win over the other guy?
That's how I
don't even
feel
know.
about gymnastics.
Yeah.
I don't.
Same thing. Like I'm not a
I can't get into it that much because of that. Personally.
yeah because you don't know what's going into the judging.
Yeah. And my girlfriend would be like, "Oh no, it's actually she planned on doing this, but what? That's not how sports work." They planned it's like they didn't go to plan, but she executed, and the finish was pretty good. So
It's like there's no points. It's like no, I did this, so I get a point. I crossed the goal line, so I get 6 points. It's harder to judge, so it's
Yeah,
harder to watch.
exactly.
It's more
But
objective.
the athletic ability is
Is off
better
the
than
charts.
anything in
Yes.
the Summer Olympics. Better than any of them.
Yeah.
The flips and tumbles and dives and rolls and
On snow.
on snow.
And they're doing it all while they're cold. That's in their.
Well, I was talking about gymnastics.
Oh, you said summer is better than anything in. Or
No,
you
I'm
said
saying, like-
winter was better than anything in summer.
But
I
I'm
think
saying
winter's more
the-
impressive because they're wearing a coat while they're doing it.
That is impressive. But I was saying, like, out of all the athletes in the Summer Olympics, the gymnastics probably superior.
Yeah, probably the most athletic. So Olympics is summer's B, winter's C.
Yeah.
Is that where we're sitting at?
That's more than fair.
Okay, we're international right now, so let's keep it international with what about the World Cup?
Meh.
It's another one where like
If you like it, you
on
love
the
it.
very rare occasion that the US is in it, you can be patriotic. But yeah, the World Cup is one where like one year I bought in and I watched a bunch of games. I watched a bunch of World Cup games and I was really into it. And then like the next World Cup, I kind of was just like, whatever. I'm not really
Yeah.
into it. I was busy. I was doing stuff. But then the next World Cup after that, I was like, oh man, I'm into this again. Like kind of watch a little bit, get some of the storylines and stuff. But that one's again hit or miss.
I'm just not a huge fan of soccer
Yeah,
in
and
general.
again, it's who you are. It's how much you buy in. But I would say C.
I don't like the tournament style. I don't like the game. I don't like the way that it's timed, especially. But yeah, it's definitely the best form of soccer, I'd say.
Yeah, and then, well, the other question is like, is the World Cup more important than?
The Winter Olympics and the
Like-
Kentucky Derby. That's the real question.
That is a question for our tier list. But I was saying like the Premier League.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Yeah, it has to be.
Like, do they care more? I don't know though. It's like a different type of care.
But Premier League, they're only playing other like Brits and whatnot.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is I don't know anything about all the leagues in soccer. That's where it gets too confusing.
They
for
should have
me.
made the Super League.
I don't know what the hell's going on with any leagues in soccer. World Cup I can put at a C, but I'm sure in any other nation they would say S.
I'm sure if we had soccer fans who listen to this program, they'd be upset right now.
Yeah,
But good thing
They be saying
aren't listening.
Dios mío, just like the guy on the ESPN Deportes.
Senor Spider.
I don't get ESPN, but for some reason I get ESPN Deportes through my ESPN app. So I watch a lot of sports in Spanish. And we were just watching the Cavs and Celtics, and the color commentator loved Spida Donovan Mitchell. He was saying Dios mío, Spida Donovan Mitchell. It was awesome.
Mi madre.
It was something to see. Me and Dom put
And
some
let me
money
tell
down.
you-
Jared Allen didn't get enough rebounds, and we're shit out of luck.
And let me tell you, folks, Lucas is really learning a lot of Spanish too. He's pretty much fluent at this point.
I am?
Yeah.
Oh, from watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
But we'll save that for another episode.
Yeah, maybe in the last segment I'll only speak
Teach you
Spanish.
Spanish.
Do you have another day that we can put on this tier list?
Yeah, we can keep it international. The Ryder Cup, another golf one.
This U.S. versus Europe.
Yeah, really good. And the players really care. It gets feisty. This last one was great. And it's good that it's not every year, every 2 years, so it keeps things fresh and exciting.
Yeah, it's not every year, but it's more often than the Olympics. Because that is another thing that I think hurts the Olympics and the World Cup. It's like, well, they haven't played like the U.S. You haven't seen the U.S. versus the Netherlands or something like that in 4 years.
Yeah, but I
The
think that
rivalries don't run as deep.
it makes it mean more, though. When you got guys like LeBron James playing in like his, 7th Olympics or something insane.
Yeah, true. But I don't know. Whatever. Ryder Cup every 2 years. I think that's fun.
Yeah, Ryder Cup's great. I think because Masters is A. Like I said, I think it should have been S, but I think it's B. I think it's just as good as MLB opening day, if not better.
Yeah, I'd give that a B. A B tier for sure.
One
on the Ryder
more
Cup.
international one, Tour de France. What do you think about that? I ain't watching that.
No, I don't think many people are. The other thing about the tour, like, I could talk about this for a while. I think that the niche sport, maybe it's just because I grew up in a household where like my dad loves sports and like he would just watch niche sports sometimes. But like, I feel like on cable they would always have niche sports on ESPN. Like, they would be the Tour de France on cable. Now, because of streaming and stuff, you have to like seek out the Tour de France. So no one's doing that.
Yeah.
Like, if you just turned on ESPN back in the day, it would be like, oh, the Tour de France is on. Like, sure, why not watch some cycling? Or like the Australian Open. Like, I think a lot of days on here, tennis days could be big.
Yeah.
But
I had
like,
Wimbledon.
They don't. Wimbledon. There you go. Like the Australian Open. Like a bunch of different tournaments that they have. It's kind of a lot like golf.
Yeah.
You don't get to see it now because you would have to seek that out instead of just turning on cable TV and having someone like tell you what to watch. You have to seek it out.
You have to go a bit out
Not
your
as many
way.
people seek that out.
Yeah, I agree. It's got to be a D.
I think that ESPN and like the way that they've programmed has killed like people watching different sports. Because again, like remember they used to have like arena football on. So like I feel like smaller leagues used to be able to make it a little bit more
Yeah.
than like now.
It is a lot harder, especially with ESPN Plus when they've got hundreds of games on. It seems like at all times.
Yeah.
Just too much to pick from. Why would
Like
somebody
no one's
watch-
gonna pick a
Cycling.
slam ball over, a real sport.
Yeah. I think when I'm watching like cycling, Tour de France, the only thing I'm looking for is a crash.
Yeah.
Because those
And it's so long. They're riding for like hours. It's like watching a marathon. Why would you
Yeah.
watch it?
yeah. If you're watching that and enjoying it, you're probably a psycho.
Like I kind of that is one thing I like about the Olympics is that like an event will be going on while they're going to other events. You know what I mean? Like they kind of bounce around. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, the marathon they have 3 hours or they have 3 miles left
Yeah.
now. I know we started that an hour and a half ago, but they have 3 miles left now.
Yeah. You got to be a psycho if you're watching those types of events. So kind of how I feel with NASCAR.
Yeah, I was thinking NASCAR is another like sport or event or whatever, like league organization
Yeah.
that people who are into it are really into it. Like I'm sure they'd say like Daytona or the Indy 500. Like Indy 500 is not NASCAR, I don't think, but it would, racing
I think-
fans
I don't know.
would say like different. I thought Indy 500 was Indy cars or something. I don't know. I think it might be different. Maybe I'm making that up. But racing fans would be like, "Oh, it's an S tier day.
You're right.
It's an S tier day." But we, the mass of people that see it probably C.
Probably D.
Are we going to put NASCAR days in here, or are we still talking?
I mean, the only one would be Daytona 500, and I couldn't tell you what else happens there except everything that happens at every other race.
Yeah, I don't know much about any of it.
I'm uneducated in this area of NASCAR.
I pretty much am too. Actually, I think there's. Do you want to put that one up? What was the other one that you brought up before that?
What, the Tour de France,
Tour
the
de
Wimbledon?
France. Oh, Tour de France. Where would that go?
That's D.
That's a D tier. Wimbledon. See, that's another one. It's like a long.
It looks
tournament.
cool. Like I think I'd go to the Wimbledon.
Oh, I would love to go to it. Or
I don't
the
think
U.S. Open in New York.
Yeah, but I don't think I'd go to Tour de France.
No. I mean, like, that's why would you go to Tour de France? You're going to stand on one part of a thing and see them ride by for a little bit?
I think C tier is fair. And here's something. I'm going to argue for this. I think the World Cup is a B tier. I was talking a lot of crap on it.
Okay.
World Cup, I think, is B tier because I think it's better than the Winter Games, better than Wimbledon. But I do think the Masters is S and Ryder Cup is A.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll let you make those changes.
We still have two more, and you might not say that this is like a singular day, but NBA Finals, Stanley Cup.
We'll get into those in our last segment. Real quick before we go to break, WrestleMania. What about that? That's a pretty big sports day. Like that's a 2-day event now. It's a full weekend. Like it's WrestleMania. Me and him both just watched the Vince McMahon documentary. You watched it a little bit further back than I did, but like WrestleMania is a huge day for fans of wrestling, which again, I can relate to that more than NASCAR, but I kind of feel like it's the same thing where like, if you're into that niche, it's a huge day. Like it's one of the biggest of the year.
Yeah. I was going to say like, This might have been a stretch, but I was going to say like a Floyd Mayweather fight or a Conor McGregor fight.
Big fight is big.
Those days mean a lot.
But now with UFC, you get them more often, I feel like.
Yeah, but there's something different about McGregor or Floyd Mayweather. Those days always meant a little bit more. It has to be a
certain name who has...
John Jones is huge. He's a big name, but there's nothing like McGregor. I know this is probably past. They definitely won't mean the same if Mayweather or McGregor fights ever again, but those days, like Mayweather versus Pacquiao,
the last 15 years, 10 years, like those names,
those were huge days. Everyone was talking about it, like, oh, what do you think? Yeah,
people who you didn't even talk about with sports that much,
like a big fight. I think you're gonna say a big fight. That's probably an S tier. We won't put it on here, but a big fight
night.
Big fight night.
That's
that might
an
be an
S tier one. All right, I can't hate on that.
Nah, probably an A. If the Super Bowl is an A, we'll put it.
Yeah, an A. 216-859-8699. Let us know your favorite big day in sports behind enemy lines. We'll be right back.
What's the difference between the shirt you're currently wearing and the one that I am? Well, both do their job of concealing us from the outside world and social boundaries. But one little black swoosh makes yours cost nearly double. That red rectangle may not change how warm you are, but it certainly changes the price tag. The truth is, nobody cares about the details. Get to the point with GenericClothes.com. Have a laugh at the big brand clothing company's expense with shirts that simply say sports team, political statement, music band, and more. A shirt for any occasion and the perfect gift. GenericClothes.com.
Welcome back to our final segment right here on Behind Enemy Lines, right here on WSRR Radio. WSRR Radio brought to you by Hellbender Vinyl. Hellbender is Pittsburgh's first and only custom vinyl record pressing plant. And Dom, if I had to make a tier list of most trusted record pressing plants in America, I'd probably put Hellbender Vinyl in the S tier. What do you think about that?
Easy S tier.
That's an easy pick. Hellbender Vinyl is perfect for local and independent artists who want to take their album release to the next level. Don't settle for a bunch of ones and zeros floating around the internet. have a physical album release with Hellbender Vinyl. Thank you, Hellbender Vinyl, for sponsoring WSRR and this tier list that we're making. Dom,
we're actually we're getting the first season of Behind Enemy Lines printed on vinyl.
That's a great idea. That's
so make sure to keep an eye out for that.
I don't know if we'll have a vinyl big enough for a whole year.
It's going to be like an encyclopedia size vinyl. It's going to be a box.
Thick?
It's going to be a box set.
Oh,
We've got
like set of them.
We're on like episode 25.
I thought you were saying one disc would be as thick as an encyclopedia. I was like,
just
why would that
right
help?
Through it one time.
Why
vinyl.
would we make it such a thick disc? It's like a tire. Anyways, we have our tier list going for best days as a sports fan. Dom, read us off what we have so far. We only have a couple more things really just to wrap up in the last couple minutes.
D tier, Week 0 college football and Tour de France. C tier, Kentucky Derby and Olympic Winter Games and Wimbledon. B tier, college football New Year's 6 games and MLB opening day and the Summer Olympics and FIFA World Cup. Right on the cusp there. Got moved up to B at the last minute. A tier, Week 0 NFL wildcard weekend, Super Bowl weekend, Ryder Cup, a big fight night, Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather, you name it, a big one. S tier.
A big one.
The best of the best tier.
Big one.
And that was supposed to be an S tier, but the S tier, only for the best, the finest, the biggest and best days in all of sports. March Madness, the NFL Draft, and the Masters Tournament. And we've got 4 more left to speed right through here. The big names. You said it right before you teased it here. WrestleMania. Where do you got it, Lucas?
I think WrestleMania weekend probably is A tier because people who don't watch wrestling all year still are like, oh, it's WrestleMania. Like they know about it at least.
Yeah.
Maybe B tier. I would say B tier. I think it's still a little too niche.
Yeah.
I think it would be B tier.
Yeah. I would. It's close to an A tier, but it's not like a big fight. It's not on the same level as that.
Like people know WrestleMania is going on, maybe, but like they probably don't know who the main event is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yep.
Stuff like that. So I would say B tier.
Next one we got NBA Finals. That can be good sometimes,
but that's not really a day. Like a Game 7, maybe.
Sure.
Like if it's a Game 7, but again, that day doesn't happen every year. But it is big because it doesn't happen every year, of course. Mm-hmm. I would say A tier probably.
For Game 7, yeah.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, personally speaking, like Cavs, Warriors, like the fact that it just now came to my mind that had a Game 7 in 2016 for the Cavs to win the championship, and I'm from Cleveland, and I was in Cleveland at the time. It just now came to my mind. I would say A tier or B tier. What did I say before?
You said A.
All right, yeah, I'll give it an A tier.
Yeah, Game 7, that's definitely an A. Here's another Game 7 one as a Cleveland fan. This one might sting, though. The World Series, I think that's close to being an S tier.
I'll give it an A tier. Give your take on that.
I got no take. It's one of the best. I think it possibly is an S tier. Game 7, it's always the biggest moments. Last one, though, Stanley Cup Finals, B tier. Just doesn't mean the same.
Yeah, still too niche. Still too niche. Thank you guys for listening to our whole tier list here. Best days in sports right here on Behind Enemy Lines on WSR Radio. Thank you once again for supporting the show and channel. Have a good one.
The preceding program was a sponsored production. The views, claims, and ideas expressed may not represent those of WSRR Radio.